Hello and welcome back to Chatterbox Cinema. I'm Edward Newsom, and this is my co-host.
Here's Billy.
And today we're talking about the film The Shining, which obviously a cult classic. Um, First off, I just want to say thank you to anyone who's commented and liked so far. We really appreciate it. Before we dive in, just want to put that out there. We do any comment you write, we will probably respond to at this point.
Yeah, we'll respond to your comments and we'll take your ideas into consideration. We may not have access to all the films you want us to watch, but we will try our best to at least hear you out.
And once again, any conversation you want to have down there, by all means,
It can
by
be
all
about
means,
animal crackers. Do you bite off the head first so they feel less pain and die instantly? Or
just
are
let us
you
know. Let us know.
merciless?
We want to know.
Right.
So I guess to start, I guess starting thoughts. What do you think of the film?
What did I think of the film without telling you like what I'll give it in the end? I really liked the music, how it builds the tension of the scene. They use music expertly in this movie. So, like, even at the beginning, they're building this tension. You see the beautiful Colorado, you see the mountains, you see the forest. They have this music. And what I really liked about it, I think something for me, I don't know what you thought about this. At the top of the screen, it's like says, "Oh, the interview." And it would
Mhm.
actually show you where they were at. They're on Tuesday, they're on Thursday, and it really gave you an idea of like time has passed. So I did like that a lot.
I will add the hotel is as intimidating in real life as you see it in the film. As someone who's been there, it is. You can go to Colorado and visit the Shining Hotel. It is as creepy in real life. I can guarantee you that.
We got to go, and I know what room number we would want to stay in.
I know, and you can book that one. You can book that one. I went
Oh,
there with family, and we had dinner there. They have a really nice restaurant at the bottom, and let's just say it was creepy, and there was definitely made you nervous. And I was there during the daytime, so I can only imagine what it's like at the night.
did you guys try to go like at least take a peek at the room?
Well, we went on like a tour. We went on a tour, but I don't think we could because people rented out.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I think he rented out. I will say I met the owner while I was there. You know what was interesting because me and my father, we were standing. I think it was a moose statue that they have outside the hotel, and there's a lot of moose and things like that. And he was telling a story about how a real moose died there because the moose challenged the fake moose and got stuck.
Oh, damn.
And
That's a
like
hell of a story.
yeah, and it was so weird because me and my dad were talking about how kind of creepy the statue was or whatever, and then here comes walking up from like a that looked like a employee building, and he's like, "Hi guys," and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "I'm the owner," and I'm like, and then me and my dad are like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he showed us his identification. He's like, "Yeah, I'm the actual owner." We're like, "Oh, cool," and he's like, "You guys want to hear a cool story?" And he told us that.
That is a very unique story. Of all the stories I thought you would share, a moose was not on the list.
At the time, if we weren't so gobsmacked about the statue, we probably would have asked a little bit more creepier questions. But I tell you what, the statue is really intimidating. He's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "It's life size. That's how big they are in real life."
Damn, and
He's like,
that
"So
hotel is huge too. It's
yes, it
just
is huge." I
massive.
will say it's not as isolated in real life, and in real life, obviously the maze isn't there. Like they have like a little maze, like a replica version, but it's not the big maze you see in the film.
Okay, so I wonder if they shot the maze at a separate location.
I think they would have had to because, like, as someone who's been on the property, I don't know where you would have actually even put up a prop version of that. Um, and like the maze there, you can get out pretty easily. Like kids run through it.
Right, right. I will say, this movie does get bonus points for me personally. I love isolation films. There's
Yeah,
something about the isolation film, like Abigail is
yeah.
one I really like. The Thing. There's something about I think it's maybe the hopelessness that you feel for these characters when they're stuck,
Also, the
especially
idea
with
that
the
you can't
snow.
escape, like
Yeah, the snow's
especially with
coming
the
in.
snow and like there's no there. Where are you gonna go? You can't. You gotta face what's happening.
Right. Early on, whenever Jack Terrence goes to meet Mr. Ullman, he comes across as charming, but then it's like, okay, there's this hidden side to him because some of the answers he gives, he's using charisma, but you can tell there's like a creepy little undertone there whenever he says
And I
certain
also think
things.
that's partly just who Jack Nicholson is. Jack Nicholson, he has I don't know what's about his face, but he has that face.
And it's funny that you say that because right before we watched this movie, I actually sat down and watched Witches of Eastwick was the last one I
Hmm.
watched before this. And there's something about Jack Nicholson can play these very disturbed, unsettling characters, and he has such good facial expressions that you want to trust him, but there's part of you that know that you
I
can't
love his
because
very like big eyebrows, that big eye. I can't even do it, but he has that big eyebrow expression going on. You know.
yeah, he just has this larger than life persona, this presence because he's not conventionally like good looking, right? Like he's
Wait, it's,
odd looking.
it's so weird. He's not, but like there is something attractive about him.
I think it's his confidence and his like with his
I tell you
characters.
what, he was. I love the one that flew over the cuckoo's nest. Him and that he can play very likable characters, but all those characters kind of have an underrooting of a haunting and within themselves, I guess.
Yeah, but there's certain actors like him. Jim Carrey is kind of like a real life cartoon character. I was talking about, to a coworker about that. They said, "Don't you think Jim Carrey has kind of like a cartoonish thing?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then Nicholson, he has kind of like these over the top expressions, but also believable. You can believe that he really is that crazy. There's something
It,
about him where he portrays these disturbed characters so well.
unlike Jim Carrey, he doesn't come off as cartoonish. He comes off as unsettling or uncanny.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because like he has those big expressions like Jim Carrey, but there's like that darkness to him. Like his face, Jim Carrey has that very cartoonish like feel, but like he does the big expressiveness in a way that's like almost unnerving.
Yeah, like if you were sitting in a room with him and he just gives you a certain look, you're like, "Oh crap, I better be careful here." And you almost feel like you have to play along, so he's not aware that you're aware of him being that crazy. Like you have to play along like it's all good. Like that's one thing about his characters. So at the beginning of this film, he's going in for an interview to run a hotel while nobody else is there. So that's our like basically kind of like the early when going in, I didn't know anything about this film. The only thing I knew
Yeah.
was the scene where he cuts the axe to the door and says, "Here's Johnny." That's the only and the little girls. That's the only thing I knew about this going in. So for me, not reading the book, not really understanding the source material, I'm glad you're here because you're going to be able to fill in some of those gaps. There's certain things that I kind of thought that I wrote down as I went along, and they tell us in the winter of 1970, Charles Grady, a previous winter caretaker, killed his wife, his 8 and 10-year-old daughters, and himself. So it's like, man, so something brutal went down here.
I will also say I do like I've seen some people say like, well, why did he still agree to go? Because you get a whole fucking hotel for a season and you're getting paid to do it. Okay, I just want to state that right out because I've seen a lot of people on the internet be like, well, if I heard that, I wouldn't have took that deal. Bullshit. Okay, bullshit. He had a whole hotel to himself. Of course, he was gonna agree.
And we also don't know. We know he was a former teacher in Vermont, but we don't know what like job opportunities are like in the area, if they're scarce or maybe this
We
job
also know
pays
that he's an
better.
alcoholic, and that might affect his ability to get employed where he's at.
Right, because it said he has been sober for a little bit. He had quit
Just
drinking
a
for a
little
little
bit, yeah.
while. Yeah. So you wonder, okay, is he going to start drinking again? Is he going to have hallucinations? Like those were kind of some of the thoughts early was like, what is going to be his mental state going into this?
One thing I will say that differs from the book, but I actually do like, is that in the book it's very obviously supernatural, right? But in the
Okay.
movie, they kind of let you play with the ideas: is it psychological or is it supernatural? Like they let you at least throughout the film until you get to the very end. Is this in this guy's head or is this? But like in the book, if I remember correctly, it was just right off that very obviously supernatural.
Yeah, and the thing is, anytime you have a director that's taking on a book adaptation into a film, they're going to have some of their ideas come to life too. So I was okay with it. I want to read the book eventually, but sometimes when I go into a film without reading the book first, I'm a little kinder to it. I
Yeah,
like that the whole because you're thinking, okay, is this really happening or is this in their head? So I like that they play around with that in this film.
and
It
I
added to it.
I also love. I think I forget the actor's name, but the kid that played Danny did a wonderful job.
Yes, he did because at the beginning, we when we meet Danny, Jack's son, he has a vision of blood coming off the walls of the hotel and then down the hallway with the image of two girls. And you're like, oh my God, like what is going on with Danny here? And then he says he has a boy named Tony that lives in his mouth, which is
And
just like, okay.
it's unnerving to hear from a boy that age.
Right. It's very odd. And the way he plays it off is really interesting. And it says they were in Boulder, Colorado for 3 months. Jack taught school in Vermont. And Danny started talking to Tony after he dislocated his shoulder and explains Jack was drunk and he accidentally pulled Danny's arm. He dislocated his shoulder.
Just because I would love to add this because I finally found this back to my notes just to put out what a great actor this little boy was. You know the opening where like Danny first talks about The Shining with Halloran, I think is how you say it, about psychic abilities. And
Yes.
they I forget how many times now. It took 148 takes, and that little boy sat through 148 takes of it.
Wow, that is dedication for such a young
That
kid.
takes a lot of patience for
And
such a young man.
what
I will later on in this video criticize Kubrick's treatment of different actors. But the one thing I will say, and the actor himself did confirm this, he always did treat the actor Danny with really a lot of respect, and was actually a lot nicer to him than the adult cast. Now we'll talk later about how Kubrick treated his adult cast, but as far as I know, and as far as my research and the different interviews with the actor himself, he said that his experience was enjoyable with Kubrick on this film set.
Good. So the kid himself didn't have any really like bad experiences.
Yeah. Now other people, we will get to that later, but the little boy was safe. Everybody.
The one thing I will say that would make me peace out is they say the hotel was built on Native American burial grounds. Nope, I'm out. See you later. We'll leave this to the Scooby-Doo gang.
I mean, and this also did like take place, I think, around the 80s, maybe about the 80s, and I would say the time. I mean, it was released in the 80s. I'm going to say that everything looks about 80-ish. You know?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. It came out in 1980, so
I would say, I mean, did people really concern themselves with that kind of thing back in the 1980s? I mean, like supernatural things are very common to talk about now, but like, did people like how heavily did people believe that like an Indian burial ground would be a big deal?
Right, because right now, like you're saying, with modern times, we would talk about, oh, I bet there's a lot of activity there, and then some of us crazy people would go out and try to actually sit at these places and see if we experience anything. Like that's how that goes now. But I think back then, ghost stories would have been more just that, like tales to scare people or dare them, like, oh, I dare you to go into this place. Whereas,
and even then, like my dumbass went to the haunted hotel, wanted to go there to see, and I would love to stay there a night. So I'd be like, I mean. Sometimes the draw is the fact that I would absolutely go to a haunted place, I
had a friend of mine that wanted to go to the Lizzie Borden house.
Oh, I would love to.
But I think what would be cool is to go to the Shining Hotel and actually watch The Shining there.
I'm sure, yes, that'd be have a
and then walk up and down the hallways. The thing is, whenever they tell them it's going to be like nobody's here, and he's like, oh yeah, I like isolation. The idea sounds nice for a little while to clear your thoughts, get away from everything, start new. But then after a while, you could start getting now I had a preconceived notion I was wrong about, okay? Let me tell you where I thought this movie was going.
Where?
No, I thought we were going to discover Jack was writing a book about a man that kills his family, and she was going to find his story and find out he was fantasizing how he would kill them, and then she would get freaked out, and then they would have this confrontation. So that's where I thought it was going for a while. Once we got,
I would say he just didn't have the time because he has to write down Johnny. What's the saying? All work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy. Just gotta keep going.
Right, and I found it funny that his character's name is Jack and the actor's name is Jack. So how easy was that for him to play this character? Because he was literally going by his real name, first name at least.
I would say, I think if I remember, and take this for the grain of salt, I remember Jack Nicholson actually said that this was a harder character for him to play based off his cruelty to Shelley Duvall's character.
Okay, yeah, because
and If you guys don't know, Jack Nicholson, as far as I can research and as far as I can see from interviews and how people talk about him, is actually a really nice guy. And I've never seen anyone talk negatively about working with him. I believe he may have struggled with substance at some point in his life, but they've always, every interview I've seen with either about him or with him, he seems pretty like to be known as pretty pleasant.
Okay, that's good to hear. Jack Nicholson's one of those people that he can play creepy characters, but a lot of these actors and actresses that can, they're actually really cool people. They just have this way of turning on that side of character acting. Jack Nicholson is a great character actor. And to add to that, Stephen King, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, said The Shining was his way to admit his struggles with drug use and alcoholism and things. So that was kind of like that plays over into that character. That's what inspired this story was King's struggle with substance abuse. And by the way, I wanted to write this down to get your thoughts on this. We go to where it says closing day. The family moves into the hotel, and on their way, family's talking about cannibalism, and Danny's like, "Oh, it's okay. I saw this on TV." Like, what kind of shit is Danny getting exposed to as a kid? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think you can clearly tell early on that there's a rift between the parents. It doesn't seem like either parent's overly involved with him. His mom is a little bit more. There's that weird tension between him and his dad. He clearly seems fearful still of his father, what is obviously explained because we do know he grabbed Danny and hurt him, either during his when that's what they say that was the event that led him to try to end his alcoholism, but I don't think this kid's very monitored. I don't think anyone's really checking up on this kid that well.
no, and I think the trauma plus not having the social connections because he said he hasn't really made any new friends. So then you have Tony who comes in,
Yeah.
and I think that's his way to cope with isolation. He himself is lonely as a kid because, like you said, the parents aren't as involved, and he hasn't made any new friends at this
And to
area
me,
that he's moved to.
I think Tony is a coping mechanism and also rationalization because having the shining as they refer to it in this book and movie is throughout different King's work. And you'll see it if you ever watch Doctor Sleep or a few other things. If you had this kind of supernatural ability, I think it's his childlike way of rationalizing these visions and hearing these things. What has almost became his only friend is the supernatural ability, which is
So,
in itself tragic.
so do you think Tony is like him basically thinking out loud, where it's like he's talking to a friend and processing? He's like processing it out loud, basically.
Well, The Shining, I once again take The Shining as it's presented through different characters through different King's works. It's like this ability, this intuition, this thing that does kind of speak to you, right? And I
Right.
think he has characterized it to be a friend.
Okay, and I like that. That was actually probably one of my favorite things about the film was that this idea of The Shining, having this ability to, as the chef put it, you see things that have happened in the past and you see things that have yet to happen. So that I like that a lot. And it also we learn it connects different characters. It
Yeah,
connects people
throughout,
together.
just bigger than this film and bigger than just that book is a canonical thing throughout the Shining that like the King universe.
Okay. And King, I will say King sometimes can get wordy, but I like his stories because once you see here's the details about their location, and you get back to the story, it makes you anticipate what's going to happen next. And he does that really, really well with this story. So I was curious to see how this movie was going to be because knowing, that it's based off of a Stephen King novel. And then, Danny has a premonition that the chef asked him if he wants ice cream. So it was
Mm.
like, so at first I wrote, maybe he has premonitions. And then we get into The Shining whenever the chef talks to him. And that was really interesting. So yeah, so they called it The Shining because it said the chef could talk to his grandma without opening their mouths. So that would be really convenient if you think about it. If you're just sitting there in a boring meeting and you're like,
Yeah, but then you gotta like see ghosts and shit, and people getting murdered, like images of people getting murdered every time you walk into the building where someone was murdered.
it's
Might
like,
be
hey,
inconvenient to always be seeing people get murked.
it would, but then you can also say, "Hey, Edward," without speaking, go pull the fire alarm. Go act like you have to go to the bathroom, pull the fire alarm so you can get out of this damn meeting.
Or as poor Danny, or you can visualize your father eventually trying to murder you.
Yeah, there's that as well. And I wasn't sure what direction this was going to go. What I was hoping for was a happy ending because as we go through the story, the mom is nothing but sweet and supportive, even towards her husband. Even when there's tension, she's still trying to be sweet and supportive, but he's just an asshole to her. And she really is a
Yeah.
really
I
kind
think
woman
she
in the
really
film.
represents the era. She is your standard housewife, submissive. You can see she's quiet when she speaks. She is, she does everything in the world to not set him off, not to disrespect him, not to, you know. And
Right.
I think you can see that she's fearful of him as well because he's already, even before the events of this, has proven that he can be a violent, drunk.
Right, and I'm interested to read the book to see how the relationship plays out in the book as well, like how that builds. Because obviously the pacing of this is 2.5 hour long movie, but it didn't feel that way. It's honestly it's interesting because I was sitting there, I was watching it. I had a friend come over, we talked for a bit, and after he left, I kept going with the film. And when you hit like the last, I think when you hit the 2 hour mark and you're down to the last half hour, you're like, oh shit, it's about to hit the fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like each hour, something shifts, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I noticed like once you got to the end of, and the movie feels like about an hour and a half film, but it happens to be 2.5. It does not feel that long when I watched it because of like
No.
there's always stuff happening. It's like, oh, it's Tuesday now, it's Thursday. So I feel like the pacing of this film, I did see some critique online about being slow. I think
I've never felt that way about it.
no, I think there's good anticipation building throughout
But
the
also, I
story.
think the great thing that Kubrick does is you really know these characters, right? Especially Danny. You can see this kind of haunted little boy. He makes us care about, I'm forgetting her name in the movie. I'm just going to call her Danny's mom. Danny and Danny's mom. You care about. You've connected with these people, and now you care what's going to happen to them.
Oh, Wendy. Winifred, but
Wendy,
she goes by Wendy. Okay. Yeah,
Wendy,
because it took a while to figure out her name.
Wendy, and even Jack. You start to care about Jack, and you do see him go through this back and forth with the ghost, you know. And all these characters, you have a certain understanding of what when the climax hits. You know why everyone's doing what they're doing. You know how the hellhole they're actually in, and now you that fear of Jack has heightened because now you care about these two characters, and now you know what he's capable of and what he's been put through at his time there.
Right. I think when I was watching the film, I obviously you want the kid to be okay. And the wife is very supportive. You want her to be okay. I really like the chef character. I
Yeah.
honestly thought there could have been a little bit more with him, but
Well,
I
I
know
do
that
like when shit like he is the thing that sits like when you want to talk about shit in the fan. The minute he gets clobbered to the head, you're like, okay, let's go time. We're in a horror movie.
right. And I think that's what I like. A lot of modern horror films, especially, are very, very fast paced, which is fine. But every now and then, it's nice to slow down a little bit. And actually, what I think, circling this all around, what I like about this the most, when you do an isolation film, you can do a character study and dive deep, like you said, the motives. Why is this person doing this? Well, it's understood because of the way they're building. They're not trying to build 20 characters. You're really looking at this family and some other characters that are there, but these three and what each of them are going through, like him riding around on his little it's a tricycle because it has three wheels, but it's not a traditional
Yeah,
tricycle because it sits lower to the ground. But him exploring this hotel and finding his own entertainment, you feel like of the three, he should theoretically have the easiest time because he can play, but really he's not having an easy time of this either.
it's interesting because Danny really doesn't have that many lines throughout the movie. Most of the acting is this kid's facial expressions and his reaction to things. A lot of the film is just Danny reacting. If you actually break it down.
You're right, because when he's scared, you believe it. Oh my gosh, he's really has this utter look of fear on his face. And I felt like the facial expressions said more than any lines he could have been given.
I also think through Danny, we get the characterization of the hotel itself. The hotel itself, I believe, to be its own character almost.
I would say the hotel is alive. It's an entity, it's alive, and there's always more stories. Actually, to say whenever the chef says this, his first name is Dick. What was his last name? I forget his last name
We can
because
just call him Dick. We can just call him my
I
first name.
wrote down and I was trying not to laugh because obviously
Yeah.
yeah it can be hard to deal with, but he says to Danny, when something happens, it can leave a trace behind. People that can shine can see that. It could be the past or the future. And then he's like, what about room 237? He goes, you don't need to go in there. Like
Don't
he's
worry
just
about it.
telling him, don't worry about it. Yeah. And
But I
then,
will say, the one thing I have the problem with Dick is like, honestly, if I was Dick and I had like, why did you ever leave that little boy? Like, why would you would have to drag me from the hotel? You know, I mean, Danny is such like you already know there's something off about this place. You have the abilities.
well, my thing is this, let's be realistic here. If you have the money and you're paying someone to stay there and take care of the place, you would think that you would have left behind a chef, some cleaning people, something. You would have had more than just like the family. If this were happening now, it's like
Well, I think
okay,
isn't that supposed to be like their job, like to upkeep the hotel until then?
yes, yes, you're supposed to upkeep the hotel, but in theory, with that big of a building, you would need more than just. Even though there's not as many people using it, you would need more than just two adults and a kid there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know enough about hotels because I guess I assume that like by the end of the season they send a cleanup crew to get it ready, and they're just
Yeah, yeah, they were,
and like
but
they're just not supposed to. They're just making sure no one breaks in and nobody like. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if this is if what they do in the film is even a real thing. Like, I don't know if there's you can just hire a family to live in your hotel for the
no, I
season.
know they do it. I've heard of them doing that for like lighthouses because
Yeah,
nobody wants to apply to those jobs because you would be bored. I feel like you and I, if we actually got to bring all of our films with, like, if I got to bring all my physical library and we sat there and just watched a lighthouse and we had food, you and I could sit there for a year and watch the lighthouse and just watch movies and do videos like this, and we would be okay. Because we would be able to keep each other entertained. But to me,
and of course, I would bring Jake. I don't worry, baby. I'm not forgetting about you. I wouldn't just leave you for a year.
right, and I would get a dog. I would adopt a dog and bring a
I'll
dog
bring
with
my
me.
cat. We can have a
Oh, I'm
cat.
allergic to cats. I know, sucks. I know, I'm no fun, man, no fun. One thing I will say a big red flag is, I know what you said about her being a housewife, but you think there would be some hesitation. There is from Danny, but you think there would be hesitation from the wife too, knowing that okay, he's a recovering alcoholic. Is isolation really the best thing for us right now?
I think with seeing how she interacts with the social worker, she carries a lot of shame for his alcoholism because, like, as the time it's as a wife, it would probably be seen at the time as her failings him, and I think it's more. It's not that she didn't have hesitations. I think you just it really to break it down. It's a misogyny thing. Like this woman's already been beat down. She's trying to play this role. She's trying to be supportive. I doubt she feels that she has the power, even if she did say something that would do anything at all. Because how often do you actually see Jack even listen to his wife in the first place?
That's true because there's a scene where he's typing
Mm.
and she comes in and he goes, whenever you see me here, leave me the F alone. And she basically is just like taken aback by how rude he's being. And she like is just trying to be supportive. And yeah,
And
you
you
behind,
never really see her bite back at him. You can see that she won't bite back against him. But
right. Like
I
he gets
think
the final say.
yeah, and I think if you've ever been around like an older people, if you've ever been around, that's how older women talk about their husbands. Like, we did not talk back to our husbands. We did not argue with them.
Right. And what you're saying earlier about that, about her not being hesitating as much because like you said he had final say, the women looked at it as like you said their failure. Like they looked at the family unit as a whole. So if there
Mhm.
was something going bad with the kid or with the husband or with themselves, they blamed themselves. That's just how it was back then.
And also, like, divorce was a lot more complicated and a lot more shameful. And also, I'm sure this woman was probably taught from the very beginning you don't disagree with your husband. Your husband's choice for the family is the choice for the family.
Right. And it's interesting to be able to watch a film that took place in 1980. Here we are, what? We're, God, has it really been 45 years?
That's crazy.
45 years later, and just in that 45-year period, you're seeing that family dynamic shift drastically. So it's interesting to be able to go back to a film that was made in 1980, and just in that period, see how families have changed.
And also not, I guess not to be political anyway. It's also interesting to see how there, and I noticed this for my generation. There's now a new thing of trying to get back to traditional marriages. It's like we're going backwards again. You know, I've seen a big push online for what they call trad wives. You know, of almost trying to go back to that.
Interesting. I think you could take the good aspects of back then and now and kind of mesh them. I think that's what the best thing to do is to kind of take
I
the
mean,
things
once
that
again,
work.
I don't want to make this my soapbox. I think if any partnership is based off someone having to be subservient and being always the supporting caregiver, then that relationship will never be equal.
No, what I'm saying is though, take the elements that were good about then and
Yeah,
take the elements that work now and combine them. Like, let's say your partner's having a bad day, you're trying to be supportive that day, and they might do the same deal. It should be more balanced. It shouldn't ever be always one-sided. So I do agree with that.
and I would say like even with my own personal relationship, we probably have like we're not traditional in like the 1980s sense, but we're traditional and we are monogamous. We want to get married. We want to have children one day,
Right.
and you know, I mean, even though we're both queer men, we have somewhat traditional ideas of what or how our life's going to lead, and that's what I guess is that what you mean by like where we want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like it's gonna be in your image. Every couple's gonna be unique, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you see as balance for your personal relationship? It might be different than what I would go for. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
it's very different.
And I love
Um,
seeing that in horror, though. I really do because, especially for at the time, you can see how terrifying it. Like to me, at least, being a housewife in the 1980s sounds terrifying.
yeah, it does because like you have this kid right here who is having issues from what happened with his dad. So you're dealing with that. You're worried about your kid. You're worried about when's he going to snap again? Is he going to go back to the bottle? Does the bottle control him?
And you have
Like
that sense that you can't leave. And if you do leave, it's your fault. You're abandoning your family. You're the reason your son's going to be terrible. You know.
and people now see the one thing they have going for them, they're new to this area they moved to. So traditionally, you would make friends with people in the houses close to you or where you work at. And if say there's 5 couples and you're thinking about getting divorced, it would be like you said, a shame back then.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're not trying to even make it work out. There's something really wrong with
Especially if the
them.
wife tried to leave. Ooh. Like
Yeah,
back in the day, even if your husband cheated on you, suck it up and get over it. You figure out what you're doing wrong.
right. And I really you get the sense too what you were saying about the relationship dynamics. The father and the son, the relationship is very tense. Like he's just very obedient because he's scared of him. Whereas with the mom, he's a little more relaxed. Danny can breathe a little more around mom than
And
he can
also,
around dad.
he's a lot more open with her. He actually tells her his thoughts and his worries, and you can see her try to ease his mind throughout the film.
Right. I wrote down a lot of notes. Some of it was on plots, so we're jumping around a little bit. I do. There is a scene where Danny tries to go to room 237. The door is locked. Jack is writing. That's whenever he is angry and annoyed and lets it out on her. And then I put, his wife's nothing but sweet and supportive. And then there's a big snowstorm, and Danny and his mom are playing in the snow. And then Jack looks out at them and he gives that iconic Kubrick stare.
The
It's
Kubricks, yeah,
very unsettling.
and how he looked, it's just like, oh, I wouldn't want I wouldn't want a stranger in the street to look at me like that. I might run away. Like, damn,
Right.
that stare is unsettling. I tell you what, that ooh,
And he
and with
holds
his
it for
facial,
several seconds. Like it's not just like a second or two. It's like what,
they
20
lit and
seconds?
they zoom in on it. You get closer to him when it's so interesting because that face makes me want to run away, but the camera's making me get closer to him.
Right. I think that's what's so good about this movie is the moments where you're like, you have that feeling, I want to run away. Nope, we're pulling you in even closer.
We're not paying into that expression.
Right. We're like making this an immersive experience. Imagine this movie in 3D.
Honestly, if done right, it could be good.
It could be very good. Like you could tell everyone to wear white shirts. You could have like fake blood. You could have all kinds of stuff going on. Um, Oh, one thing I thought was really cool. Wendy connects to the U.S. Forest Service through radio.
Hmm.
And I really like that because later this radio is going to come into play when they bring in some sort of technology, it's going to come into play later. So Wendy talks to the U.S. Forest Service to see if the phone lines are down,
Yeah.
and then during this whole conversation, it's very calm. They go to Danny seeing the two girls at the end of the hall. So I love that there's this very like calm situation. Oh, I'm going to talk to these people and see if the phone lines are down. And then Danny is experiencing this very unsettling scene with these two girls at the end of the hall. And they're like, we want you to come play with us forever.
And
And
can we
you're
just
like,
say everything
yeah,
about the design of this, like even down the carpet, right? It's just orientating the look at. It's just wonderfully done. You know what I mean? Like what you see him, you can see his big facial expression on that chart, and he's just looking there like, what the? He's looking there like if he was a grown up, he'd be thinking, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
even from Kevin from Home Alone would probably say, I'm out. I'm not defending this house.
I just love that he's almost like frozen in fear of just like I don't. Oh.
The choices that were made, I have to say, and we'll get into what you said with the treatment, the choices that were made as far as the look, phenomenal. And if it would have been any other actor, I think it would have been less effective if Nicholson's not your lead, right? Like
I will
Nicholson
also say it'd
is
be
the
less
perfect actor.
effective if they didn't have Shelley Duvall playing such a wonderful Wendy. Of that, she brings this dynamic about Wendy. What I don't think people give her enough credit for is she's goes from submissive housewife to towards the end. I'm going to do everything in my power to protect me and my son, no matter what I have to do, or if I have to kill my own husband. I will. This child, like you see, the mother instincts just kick in, where she fights. She fights tooth and nail. She fights as hard as she possibly can. You can definitely get that sense of that she's doing everything she can.
Yeah, I like that she's playing nice. She's trying to keep Jack. She's trying to make sure he's not going to go crazy. She's like giving him a chance to get better and everything. And you're hoping the whole time that Jack is going to stay sober and that this isolation thing, because he does have a few scenes where you have a little bit of hope, where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, lack of sleep, he sleeps, he has a nightmare, but then he sort of starts bouncing back a little bit. And you're like, okay, maybe he's going to get through this. Maybe they're going to get through this. And you have that little shred of hope, and then the rug is pulled out from under you. And I think the execution on that is flawless.
I just like that they, you know, I just like that for the time period and everything. I like that they, in a way, she's a very strong woman towards the end, right? She's her
Yeah,
whole life she's probably had to play the submissive housewife, but when it came between her and her child, she was a true mother, and I love the representation of okay, this woman's not just going to sit here and take it. She may seem submissive, she may be polite to try to get through her life, but when it comes down to it, she will fight you. It didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it did not matter. She put herself in between her and her Jack in between. Okay, so she put herself in between Jack and her child to make sure that Jack was not going to hurt her baby.
exactly. And I like that too, because when you think of mothers in the traditional sense, they are going to protect their kid. They may act a certain way for a while, but then when all the formalities are gone and true colors come out and shit hits the fan, they're going to try to protect their kid.
And throughout
And
the film, the only time you see Wendy even slightly stand up to Jack is when it's referring to Danny. Of you need to talk nicer to Danny. You scared Danny. You need that's the one line they state it subtly, but very early on. The one line that she is not okay with Jack crossing is having to do with their child.
yes, it's like you can treat me, you can say whatever you want to me, but you're not going to hurt Danny.
And I
Like,
think that's just a really beautiful characterization in a way of this woman who's clearly in a struggling relationship, but obviously she has her priorities straight on some things.
yeah, like because with her being as scared as she is as Jack, I can see why she doesn't stand up to him when it comes to like her relationship with him and why she would only do that for Danny. So she wants the best for this boy who is obviously troubled.
And you definitely feel the maternal. I think, like I was telling you off screen, Kubrick actually had people on set not speak to Shelley Duvall and was very neglectful and very degrading towards her. One, the only people she would talk to was the child actor of Danny, because that was the only one she was really allowed to interact with. And I think you can see on set that there was already that motherly outside of the screen, and you can definitely feel it inside of the screen. Even how she picks him up and talks to him and holds him. There is that motherly bond between them is very much a big part of this movie.
It felt like they had natural chemistry. You could believe that they were actually mother and son with how
Yeah,
they
you see them
interacted.
going through the maze, you see them playing in the snow, you see like she's in most of the scenes she's trying to play with Danny or keep him entertained or try to relieve his fears.
And what I like, I didn't realize at the time when I was watching it after finishing the film, what I like about what you said about the maze, they go and play in the maze and they get to the end of it in the middle. That's going to come into play later. And I didn't realize at the time, I didn't foresee that, like, oh, the maze is going to be an important part of this story.
I also like throughout the entire film she keeps trying to get Jack to come play in the maze with them and he keeps refusing. Would be she's like,
Right.
why don't you come and play with me and your son? He's like, nah.
Right. And it actually plays to their favor later on in the film.
Yeah.
Because
Because it's what saved their life.
if you know, you know. Yeah.
You know.
Then there was a scene where Jack was okay. Well, first of all, Danny comes, a tennis ball rolls towards Danny. Room 237 is unlocked with the key in the door and it's open. And then Jack is yelling in his sleep. He has a nightmare because he dreamed that he killed his wife and Danny. And Danny has markings on his neck. And at first, Wendy thinks Jack did this. So this
Well,
leaves
once
Jack
again, I'm
going
gonna
back
point
to,
out that was
yeah.
another time the only time she spoke to Jack is when she thought he hurt Danny.
Right, but this, if you actually look at this moment, this is the beginning of the end. Jack's trying to get better, but once she says it was you, he goes to the bar, and I don't quite understand this whole thing with Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lloyd serves him alcohol, you're the best bartender. Like, is that just his manifestation of dealing with alcohol? Like he's basically
Well, because of how Jack gets like sent back in time, and that by the end of the film we know it was supernatural and the ghosts were actually there. I
right.
think Lloyd was an actual ghost. Like I don't think that's a figment of his imagination. Lloyd is a supernatural figure of some kind. I don't know if it's real alcohol. I don't know if Lloyd's playing or the hotel itself is playing mind tricks on him. But Lloyd is definitely an entity of some kind.
But he says he hasn't hurt Danny, so you almost wonder if the wife, if she doesn't think he did this to Danny, if it all ends right there, everything's good. Like if that wouldn't have happened, if that wouldn't have happened, Jack wouldn't have had this hallucination. He wouldn't have been drinking, whatever. I think
I
maybe
guess the only thing I guess when you watch the film, I get thinking that in the moment, but after knowing the ending and reading the book, I know that that was the hotel's design from the entire time.
right
Either way,
there.
the hotel was trying to get a hold of Jack's soul.
What? Yeah, okay, that makes sense because to me, this hotel is trying to add more people, more people, more people to add to its story, and basically more
Yeah.
ghosts get added. So in a way, it kind of reminds you of Haunted Mansion, right? With collecting all these ghosts. Oh,
Yes.
one thing I will say, he confesses he hurt Danny once 3 years ago, and Wendy comes in and says, "Hey Jack, there's a crazy woman that tried to strangle Danny. She was in the bathtub." And Jack goes in and checks the room out, and there is a woman in the bathtub, and he walks up to her and starts kissing her. But then he sees in the mirror that she's actually dead, and he
Yeah.
runs out. Now, here's another thing that hurts the couple. He has a chance to come clean and say, "Look, I saw a woman in the tub. You're right. Let's get the hell out of here." Instead, he chooses to lie to his wife. So
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
he
because
had
the
a chance.
hotel, I think it's very interesting how the hotel manipulates him. One, it seduces him, right? So for him to do that, he would either have to leave out the fact that he basically just went and cheated on his wife with a ghost, or like,
Well,
yeah.
he could have just said, "Hey, I went in. There was a woman there, and there really is somebody else in this hotel trying to hurt Danny."
But at this point, he already loves the hotel. He's already starting to get that delusion that he can like Lloyd's telling him you can be with us forever. It's a party every night. You don't have to feel bad about drinking here. We love you here. And you can always see the hotel is starting to affect his soul, where his worst parts of himself, his greed, his egotism is all being fed, and now he's becoming almost delusional. And now he is becoming one with the hotel slowly over time.
Right, because to me, I took it as sort of like that. Like once you get to the end of the film, okay, this whole time the hotel is just trying to keep him. That's what this is. It's
Yeah.
trying to keep him there. It's trying to make him part of it.
He's
Like
trying to
you
make
said,
all of them part of it, and the hotel is seducing Jack almost.
right? They know Jack's weaknesses and they're exploiting it.
And at that point, I think that he's already let the hotel almost invade his soul and or mind. At that point,
Right, and going into this, um, He has the audacity to say that Danny is hurting himself, that the bruises are from him. But then we see red rum painted on the door, and the whole time, like, what the hell is red rum? Why the hell
Mhm.
does he keep saying red rum? It does not make any sense. Like, is he going to drink red rum? Like, what the hell's going on here? And then later, when they reveal red rum backwards, okay, it's murder. Okay, because I never understood why people would use red rum in like pop culture references. Why
Yeah,
was that
yeah,
such a thing? And so even in Ready Player One, you see the girls and they reference The Shining in that
yeah.
movie. But it's like, what is this whole thing? And then Danny sees a red river. And it's like, so we have this recurring thing where the blood's coming down, this blood river's coming down the hallway. So that's really interesting.
I also
Um,
something I love about this film though is like it doesn't need to have a high kill count.
no,
It didn't need that to be horrific. You know what I mean? And I do like that 'cause some days, especially and don't get me wrong, I love Terrifier and some of these slashy gory films. But like some of those is just like how many people can we kill in horrific ways in this amount of time? You know?
right. I'm glad that they do it in a way where it's the tension is the point of the horror. Is like the source of the horror isn't killing a bunch of people. It is the unsettling decline of Jack, him spiraling into madness, him
And
getting
also
pulled
being
into this
trapped in the
hotel.
hellscape that's that hotel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is the hotel from hell, literally.
You know, so like that was, and also I love one thing I do wish we could have seen more of the different ghosts to get to see more of that in the book. You don't really get to see a lot of them towards the end, where you get to see little glimpses as Wendy's running around trying to run from Jack. But in the book, you do get to see a little bit more of the different ghosts.
I want to read the book, but I would love to actually read a book like a prequel that explains the origins of the hotel and then the murdering with the guy and his family. Like how many times has this happened? How many people
Well, we
like
know that
actually
this started with an Indian burial ground, and from the pictures of the parties and everything, this has people have been dying there for who knows how long, hundreds of
right.
years. Like this ground is even the whole. It's not even just the hotel itself. The ground it's made on is just bad. It's just bad all around.
Like if they did a book where it's talking about the construction of the hotel and before that, everything leading up to that, and then at the end of the book, the hotel's built. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like someone you could even have a character say something along the lines of like almost like I have a bad feeling about this, right? Go Han Solo with it. Like just you guys shouldn't build here, I'm telling you. You could have like a medium that's kind of like foresees all of this stuff.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I love
Um,
Jack Nicholson is given room to play in this film.
yeah. Other than then once again, I'll talk a little bit more as we're on that topic. So another insane thing about this movie is the scene where he's chasing her up the stairs and he's saying, "When you give me the bat, give me the bat."
Yeah.
That scene took 127 takes and held the Guinness World Records for the most retakes for a single scene at the time.
Wow.
And it apparently, from what once again, take everything I say with a little bit of a grain of salt, because later in her life, Shelley Duvall was a little more quiet about this, and that want to respect her privacy with that. But apparently, that scene was traumatizing for her, where it was just repeated over and over. And apparently, Kubrick was screaming at her, and it was a whole thing. And that's kind of like because that's the scene he really wanted things to break, right? He wants the action to start, and at that point, like I guess Shelley hadn't like been really allowed to talk to people on set, and it was just a whole thing. Like it was pretty ugly to film, from what I heard. That scene in particular.
You know, that's the bad thing about movies sometimes. Whenever you get the details and you peel back the curtain, Hollywood's always not so great, not so glamorous. Wizard of Oz, the way they
I
changed.
get, I get what he was. He wanted it to be authentic, right?
Yes.
And but you can't do that. You just can't do it because I mean it's kind of a open secret that her screams and her cries in that scene are real. You know.
She looks like knowing that her that's probably why her performance comes off as so genuine. It feels
Yeah.
real. Everything feels real. But there are different methods that could have been used to get the reactions you wanted out of her. You didn't have to scream at her. You could have just sat down and said, "Hey, this is what we're going for
Or
with this
isolate
scene."
her. I think he also had
Yeah.
weird diet restrictions for them, and basically wanted her to live as if she was the character. Basically forcing her to method act without her permission.
Yeah, which I don't think's needed based on what we saw. I think she is a great actress. I think she had it in her to play this character without
But like, and
needing much
also I find it
craziness.
interesting that he particularly went off the only woman in the cast, what is a recurrent theme if you look at Kubrick's history.
So do you think he just like looks down at women or something?
Well, watch the movie Lolita and you tell me what he thinks of women.
What movie?
Lolita.
I'm not
And then
watching that based on what you
yeah,
told me.
yeah, I already told you. And I think anyone who knows about that movie, you can tell what Kubrick thinks of women.
Yeah, so we can just say he might be good as far as his vision goes when it
He
comes to
may
it, but
be one. Listen,
his
I'll even say he's
approach is
probably
not
one of the
good.
greatest directors to ever live. Does not make you a good person, is what
Right. His methodology is bad.
And I know that Kubrick stands are going to come after me. You know, like if you, some of these Kubrick stands will fight to their deaths. You cannot excuse a lot of his behaviors throughout his life, and not just
No.
on this movie set, but on other movie sets. I heard that he is a headache to work for, and that he is so compulsively and obsessive that there's barely been a cast that he has not verbally abused at least a couple times.
Yeah, so it makes you try to appreciate what the cast did for this film to make it good. But
I will also say what's interesting, and I saw this parallel. I think someone on TikTok said it. Is Kubrick is kind of in a lot of ways really similar to the character of Jack in The Shining.
oh dang.
When you really think about how those two characters act, how Jack the character act compared to Kubrick's, what we know about his history and what's been reported about him.
Do you think that's what drew him to this project then?
I wonder because if you notice, he has a weird interest in Jack, and you can tell by just how he filmed it that there is, and he is very sympathetic to the character almost in how it's directed.
Yeah, that's scary whenever you have something like that going on. It's a very scary thing to see. And I think
And also, I will say, once again, we don't know for sure, but it was also reported that Kubrick throughout his life was kind of a disturbed dude in general, and probably suffered from OCD. Doesn't excuse his actions, but I do want to put out that there might have been some underlying issues with him as a person as well.
oh yeah, if you're doing over 100 and something takes on something,
There's
there probably is something
you
going
have an
on.
issue.
Like a little like you need to have every detail perfect. And I think we see
Oh,
that a
and
lot.
they said that like working with Jack just outside the cast, the actual actors, is that he would become belligerent if one thing wasn't right. If the cameraman didn't move one right, or if an intern sneezed, or he would become irrationally enrages.
Okay. So yeah, he was very difficult to work with. We
Yeah.
can say that. We can say his methodology is bad, but we can also say he did a hell of a job directing this film.
And I will never say that his filmography is probably one of the more suppressive, right? He's right up there with Spielberg and a lot of the other big giants of just like, I mean, if you look at what all he's made, they're all pretty much bangers. Okay, there's a lot of he has a
See,
lot of
what's
bangers.
funny is you speak in directors, and we'll have to get to that sometime. But like, I think you and I, when we talk about directors, we probably have a different director we put here that we use their work to try to like compare. Me, I'm more drawn to people that have unique visions, right? When I'm watching a
Well,
James
I would
Cameron
say
film,
Kubrick definitely is one of those that have a very unique vision, and he has a very unique style, like Burton, right?
yeah.
Like
So
you were just talking about the Kubrick stare that he made pretty much made famous, and he has a lot of stylistic where you can tell it's a Kubrick film, much like
right,
Burton.
like when I'm watching James Cameron, I can tell it's James Cameron because he goes grand, he goes big
We
scale,
don't
he goes
listen.
real.
We don't want my opinion on James Cameron, okay?
And then when you're watching visual masterpieces. He's going for visual. When you watch Tim Burton, to me, you have more quirkiness. That I
Yeah.
was always drawn to that. But
My
we'll get
one
into
thing I
that
will add
sometime.
this, but because you brought him up, the one thing I have a problem with James Cameron is sometimes he goes too over the top and loses the story. Like Titanic was probably was great because it still focused on the character, but sometimes with like stories like Avatar and things, right? I'm just
Yeah,
like, there was too much time thought about how it was going to look and not what the actual story was.
right, exactly. And with Burton, I feel like he goes for more quirky, unique
I would, you
character.
know what, I probably could put Kubrick in that. He's a lot more quirky. Like if you look at his, like a Clockwork Orange or one that's really, those are very quirky, unique, kind of off-putting films. He's probably closer to a Burton than anything else.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair
I
to
really think
say.
that he's a mixture of almost a Scorsese met Burton, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
I don't know as much about Scorsese as I do Burton, but um,
He's like Burton if Burton was even more compulsively obsessive and a completely deranged man.
Gotcha. Because Burton's cool as hell, and we'll probably talk about Tim Burton sometime in future videos. To get back to this, Mr. Grady is telling Jack, his son Danny is attempting to bring in a third party, and he's trying to get Jack basically to turn against Danny and his wife. He says he had to do that with his daughter, and he had to correct them because the
Yeah.
daughter tried to burn down the hotel. I use correct in quotes because we obviously know it's not like a typical, oh, I'm just going to go talk to them. We know it's going to be violent. We know it's going to end bad.
And I do like the slow reveal of who Lloyd actually is.
Yes. I thought that was a nice touch. I really thought that the attention to detail in this film was A plus. Like that was probably one of the things that stood out
And
to
I
me.
think some of the best parts of the best, at least dialogue, is between Lloyd and Jack. Have some of the most interesting conversations and the most well thought out.
They do. Because the back and forth between them, you have so many scenes with them, and it each time he's spiraling further into this madness. You can
And
tell that
Lloyd
he's
just
losing
luring him with
control.
he's almost like fucking Jack's a donkey and he's a
Dangling the carrot,
stick.
yeah.
Yeah, he's dangling the carrot. Come on, Jack, come on, just pick up the axe.
Right. And the fact that it is built up over 2.5 hours, because you watch the beginning from the interview to getting further in, he's getting more and more unhinged.
Yes.
And Nicholson, I would say the only other actor I've seen as unhinged as him that makes me as unsettled is probably James McAvoy.
That's fair. But I will say, I think Jack Nicholson's the only actor in the world that has ever made me feel that shudder. Like this film, I think that's why I have such a personal attachment to this film, is Jack is a menace. Jack comes off as very frightening, and you can imagine how frightened they are. You know what I mean? Like there's no, because like with the we recently reviewed The Strangers, and like obviously I could get the idea of being scared of like an intruder, but something about Jack is so uncannily realistic about how you can't help but like just want to run away from him. Like there's something so terrifying about Jack Nicholson, and I don't even know how to describe it.
I think it's because his facial expressions are so unique, right? He
And
can pull off
unhinged,
these
like
things
this,
nobody
like
else
and how he
can.
goes from one big emotion to the next. Like you can tell that the most dangerous person in the world is a person who can't guess what their next move is going to be. And the
Right,
entire
like
time, you're just like, holy shit, this dude's not. It feels like because like he's through the struggle towards the end, right? They Wendy and Danny are doing their best to get away, and he's just tearing through obstacle after obstacle. You know what I mean?
yes, well, he goes from smiling to where you're like, okay, is he being genuine? Like he seems kind of happy, and then he goes to this very angry look, like shit's about to hit the fan. And so that's what I liked about him was the over the top expression. Yeah, what you're talking about him, uh, the hope at the beginning with the radio, and then Jack disables the radio. We see him actually take apart the radio, so then you lose a little bit of that hope for the mom and the son getting out. So that was a good build there of the tension. Is, oh, are they gonna be able to get it back to the radio?
Mhm.
Because during this point, Dick is trying to get a hold of them. He's trying to get a hold of the family at the hotel, and he can't. So he gets a hold of the Forest Service, and then he actually flies out to Denver, and he calls Larry at the auto shop, and he says, "Hey, man, these people might not be good for running this hotel. The manager that wants me, the owner actually wants me to go out there and like check in on them because things aren't going well." So because he convinced him, he actually gets access to a snowcat. He says
Yeah.
it's going to take him about 5 hours to get to this place. This whole time it's saying 8 a.m. You're like, okay, please arrive in time. Like get there, just get there. Like
And then the minute he steps through the fucking door, they shatter your fucking hope and stomp on you and spin your eye and said, no, 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 no. There is no escape from this nightmare.
have you read um damn it, why can't I think of the name of it? The Talisman with Stephen King and Peter Straub.
I believe so.
There's a character in there named Speedy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a black character that gives Jack the drink that allows him to switch between worlds. He reminds me of Speedy, but for this story.
Yeah.
And I really liked Speedy a lot because Speedy was underrated. Same thing with Dick. He's such a genuine, caring man. You actually like him. But then there's also that side to him where he's like, don't play around with that room. Like there's just that.
I
I
will say,
really
if I
liked his character.
remember correctly, I don't remember exactly what novel or which films, But I do know, if I remember correctly, there is a book where you see him as a child with his grandmother.
Oh, I'll have to
I'm
find
pretty
out what
sure.
that
I'm pretty
is.
sure I remember that somewhere in the back of my Stephen King. I've read most of his novels. Back of my head somewhere.
Okay, then that is something I want to get a hold of because to me, I think a grandma grandson relationship is always special and fun to watch. So I would like to see that. So back to this story though, because we do have a tendency to get off topic, but we try to circle it back around best we can. But yeah, I'll have to check that out. King, you can tell when he wrote this book, like his other books, when he goes in, he has a unique vision with his stories. He
Yeah.
always has something different he's going for with each story, and I think that's what makes Stephen King such a good author.
I will also. Listen. One thing. You know what's a fun drinking game? Go through Stephen King's catalog and take a shot for every novel you thought he wrote on his coke when he was going through
Oh,
his
you'd
coke
be
era.
dead. Because if I remember right, when he gets hit by the vehicle, when he gets hit, things changed. The tone
Yeah.
of his stories. He even admitted when he was drugged out, that's when he would write about the town. When he sobered up, he would get back to the story.
Yeah.
It's like Salem's Lot. There's a part where he writes about the town and
And
everything.
we all know he must he at least we all pray he was coked up for that one scene in it that he wrote.
I still need to read it, and I still need to watch the films.
Woo! You know about
So
that scene though.
no, I don't.
Mm.
You'll have to tell me off screen here.
Yeah, we're about to talk about that. I don't even think I can say that on YouTube.
Okay, okay. Um, so Dick is flying to Denver. He gets there. He's getting the snowcat. So we're wondering, okay, is he gonna make it in time? And then you have Danny and Mom watching TV, and she says, "Hey, I'm gonna go talk to Jack, and I'm gonna lock the door behind me." And she brings a baseball bat. So you wonder though if bringing the bat elevates Jack, if it brings out. That's the whole thing. You try to get
Here's
him
the
to be
thing
able to
though.
figure it
At
out.
this point, she would be stupid not to arm herself with something.
I agree with that, but I wonder if she could have had something more concealed.
I don't. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think there'd be any firearms. I don't think there. I would be very cautious because I don't think she's at a point where she wants to kill him yet. She
No,
just wants to be able to defend him off. So I don't think she'd want to bring a knife. Because you can almost see she even when she is swinging at him going up the stairs while she's crying, she's almost doing kind of half swing. Like you can see that she wants to defend herself and her child, but she also doesn't particularly want to kill him. And when the
she's
conflict first
hoping
starts.
for him to say, "You know what? I've taken this too far. Let's actually talk." Like
Yeah, because you can hear her play with Jack. I'm scared. Jack, you're scaring me. Please stop.
right. She's pleading to him to stop, and and then she discovers that whole thing: all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And then,
Yeah.
but then as you see the typing, it changes. It's not always he'll put DOLL doll boy, or he'll type like you could tell his thoughts, his mind is not working properly. He is going insane.
I would say I do love this phrase because every time I we get rushes at work, I like to repeat that to my manager.
That's funny. How does your manager react to that?
Usually an eye roll, and then I'm like, "Well, what if I get an axe?" And he goes, "I'm not afraid. You good luck with that." He's like, I
Damn.
forget what he said the other day. He's like, "I'd get the day off early then."
Um, so there's a scene where Wendy hits Jack with the baseball bat and then she locks him into the storage room. So she
Yeah,
actually like locks him in
and
and
then, the damn hotel being the hotel.
then he's like, wait till you go outside. There's gonna be a surprise for you waiting there.
Hmm.
And then she finds that the snowcat was disabled. The initial snowcat was disabled and the radio. So everything, all of her hopes are gone. She can't
I will
contact anyone
say
for help.
we talked about this with the strangers, and we actually disagreed. I would say the characters in this one are smart. I think Wendy's character reacts smartly to things.
I was actually going to say that because the scene where he breaks through the second door with the
Yeah.
axe, Wendy does not actually go towards the door, so she does not make it to where he can easily hit her with the
Yeah,
axe.
and if you
She
notice,
doesn't
she puts
actually
her
walk up.
body, she puts her son behind her, and
Yes.
puts herself and backs him as far away as she can as she's trying to get him through the window.
Yeah, so I will say the characters in this one, they didn't do anything to make me mad. They didn't
Yeah,
make
and
any
also like the
decisions.
whole idea of locking him in that should have worked if the hotel wasn't magical and the ghost wouldn't have unlocked it. Like that should have worked.
Right.
Like if this was not supernatural, he would have been locked in there until someone arrived. You know.
Right, because he has food in there, so ideally he survives and everything.
Yeah,
But
so like that would have been the solution if the hotel itself wasn't an asshole.
yeah, exactly, because you even see Grady like says you failed or whatever, and he's like, "Give me another chance," and
Yeah,
then he
and
lets
then he
him
opens
out.
the door.
Yeah, Grady opens the door. So if this wasn't supernatural, he's stuck. We assume that Dick shows up. The three of them get out. The police are called. Jack's taken into custody. Nobody dies. Everything ends happily. That's how this
Yeah,
probably would
and
have
like
gone.
even through, like I said, she armed herself. Obviously, she tried to arm herself. She tried to talk to him. She never, even in her panic, she made smart decisions, like trying to put as many doors between them, trying to go, and even like down to what obviously how they defeat him by going through the maze was very smart on both of these characters' behalf.
Right. And when Dick does arrive and he's like, "Hello, is anyone here?" after he's killed, then you're like, "Oh shit, it's just down to these two again trying to
I
chase
do
the
love the
father."
portrayal of a capable mother and just capable characters in a horror movie in general. Just characters that like would make decisions I would make myself if I was in the situation.
And I'm glad you said that because Stephen King even said when he's writing, how he determines what happens to his characters is based on their skills in the given situation. Would they be able to make it out of that situation? Do they have that capability? And so he asks himself that when he's writing. So I like that they are very capable. That Danny, despite having all this trauma, he's very smart. There's the scene in the maze where he like covers his footprints, so his
Yeah.
dad is Jack is thrown off the trail, and then the mom, as you said, even though she's in a panic, even though emotionally she already kind of sees some of this coming, she already sees that he's unhinged. She just doesn't want to believe that he would actually take it
Do
to
it.
that far. There's
And
even a
even
scene,
preemptively, she's trying to keep communication with the outside world. You see her go back and forth with the radio, just doing check-ins, letting them know how it's going. She
right?
is, she's getting everything recorded. She is getting things together. She is checking what is her way out of here, just in case something goes wrong. She is trying to see maybe we should go back. She did pretty much about everything she could for her situation.
Yeah, and you wonder if in the back of her mind this whole time, if she has this plan. Okay, if this
Yeah.
happens, we're going to do this. Like if she's processing that, because it seems like she's actively
And even
reacting to
like
the
you mentioned,
situation.
like where she locks Danny, she before she leaves her son, she gets armed and then locks him in the room and tries to keep him quiet and keep him calm.
Yes, because at this point, Tony has taken over.
Yeah.
So he's not even communicating with his mom like normal. Um, let's see, what else do I have down here? Oh, so after she comes back and she's sleeping, Danny grabs a large knife and he starts saying red rum, and she finally wakes up. And then the
Mhm.
attack happens. When she opens the window to get out, you're like, yes, they're gonna get out. And then there's a snowbank. And you're like,
Yeah.
shit. Danny gets out, but part of me was like, oh, she's gonna get stuck and axed in half. But then he is still trying to get through that second door when this is happening. So,
Yeah.
and I did know going into this they had to make a stronger door because Jack Nicholson was a fire marshal and he got through the initial door too easily. So they
Yeah.
actually had to put a stronger door in for him to actually have to struggle. So I like that he
But I
himself
do like
actually
that they
did
made
it.
it realistic because I think in a lot of horror movies you see people bust down doors. It's a lot harder to do in real life. It's a lot harder to bust through. Like all the action in this, I did feel realistic. Like even the killing of Dick felt more realistic. Like usually in films, like they kill people really fast, or they're able to just do these kind of inhuman strengths and nobody questions it. But in real life, to break down doors and break through walls, and even to kill somebody by swinging takes a lot of power and energy in the first place.
Right. The fact that because when he does that swing, he
It's
really
a
makes it good.
full.
It's not like, oh, you're dead. It's actually a full on swing. And there's no hope of him surviving because
Yeah,
he took
and
it to the
also in
head.
case they wanted you to know, it takes that much force to get through a human skull. We're not as fragile as those horror movies like us to believe. Your skull is actually really thick and really strong. Same thing with your ribs. Like I just hate all these horror movies where like it seems easy to stab someone or it seems easy to beat someone to death. It takes a lot of force. We're
Yeah,
meant
but
to survive.
it also makes better visuals, I think is what it is. It makes the
Well, like I
kills
actually think it
better.
does it because like the visual of Jack having to do the full fireman swing, and you hear that crack where you can see the force behind it. That to me, instead of like just making it easy for the killers, watching how much physical force and making that physical force, like watching him tear down that door, that's terrifying. That's more realistic because I could actually imagine myself, with a door behind me of just like, man, I only got so much time and they're just gnawing away at it.
Yeah, that's exactly true. The realism. There's another part of you though that says you don't want to keep it too realistic because then you might give people ideas of what they would have to do to actually kill somebody. But then people are going to do that anyways.
Well, that's good. Listen, that's gonna. There's Reddit's a whole website. Okay, like you know what I mean. Like there's.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. I'll never put that on a film like this to inspire people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if you're gonna do something like that, you're gonna do something like that. And if it wasn't this, it'd be something else.
That's true. That's true. That it just makes people more creative. Um,
I
when
would
they
say it's not the most creative to kill someone with an axe. Wouldn't be the first time that's
right
happened.
when they get to the maze at the end, right? She finally gets out. They are running away
Mm.
from Jack. And you're like, okay, please get away, please get away. His attention's on his wife for a while, but then he's focused on Danny because he hears Danny scream because he has that connection with Dick. And so
Yeah.
the attention goes from his wife. So that actually saves his wife by Danny yelling. Danny
Mm.
yelling at the time actually saves his wife because, yes, while she's capable, if he comes at her full force with an axe, even with the baseball bat, even with the knife,
Well, I will
you
also
still
say that
don't
was
like her
very
odds.
intentional on her behalf. Of I think her original idea is to let him get her, so he has time to get away. Because at that point, because there's a reason why they split up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think her motherly instincts of when if one of us is going to survive, it's going to be my child, and I'm going to go down with my fighting breath.
And honestly, this is one of those films where, they say never split up. This is one of those cases where this is the exception to that.
Yeah.
If you know that the killer is very capable and this isn't like oh, they're going to get you in a trap and you need to get out, splitting up is actually not the worst idea in this one case. I will say that for
And
each like
also,
movie
she
that we
already
watch.
knows that he's not all there in the head, so it's going to confuse him, and it's going to make him. It might make him slip up. You know what I mean? Like he's not all there, so now they're going. Now you're kind of confusing him. You're running one way, they're running the other. Now he has to make a choice, and now he's actually going to have to try to use his brain other than charge forward and murder.
Right. The one thing that didn't come into play that I would the Forest Service, I thought what was going to happen was when they couldn't reach somebody, they were actually going to send some people to go check in on what's going on there. But Dick does that himself.
Yeah,
So, because sometimes they do that where they send a party in to see what's going on, and then that party gets killed too. So I'm glad they didn't go for the body count like you said. They
yeah.
could have sent in 4 or 5 of these forest people only to get killed. So I'm glad they
And
only
also, it's
sent
more once
one
again
person in.
they kept with the realism because Jack might have not actually a one man taking down a whole forest people is more horror movie slash supernatural, but Jack taking down one dude that's a little bit more reasonable for him to handle as a middle aged dad.
Right. They get into the maze and he's yelling for Danny. The mom's trying to start the snowcat and everything. And Danny realizes he's on my tail. He's following the footprints. He covers the footprints, and then you don't know which way he went. And see, because Danny and his mom went into the maze a lot, he knew how to backtrack to get out of there. And he's quicker because at this point, Jack has a limp because
Yeah.
with the baseball bat, he's still
Once again, I just want to give points to Wendy for fighting back. There's not often you see actual damage to a killer in the movie.
honestly, Wendy gave me Final Girl energy.
She was fighting back tooth and nail. She was. I was even say that she is the like if you really break down is the final girl of final girls because one she probably fought harder than any other final girl I've ever seen in a movie. Like you want to talk about I'm not going to go down without kicking and screaming. Wendy had that thought process. I'm not going down unless I'm kicking and screaming and scratching and fighting.
Right, because her motive is, I gotta protect my son. If it was just her, yeah, she might have just given up and let herself die, but she is fighting for her son. So I think that adds to that adrenaline, and the dad's
Mm.
already been
And
hit
you
by
saw
a
like the
baseball
fight
bat.
scenes. What I like about them is they're kind of realistic. Like you see that struggle of like the back and forth. Like that scene at the stairs is just the reason why it's so forgettable is because you see her swinging and kicking and screaming, and like there's that struggle, that back and forth of just doing everything you can to try to stop this. Almost feels like an unmovable force after you.
Right, and at one point he does, if I remember right, he does like fall down the stairs.
Yeah, she gets him. She got his ass.
When she hits him and gets him down the stairs, so he slowed down. So it's believable that Danny would outrun him because even though he's smaller,
And
he's
also, we
young.
know that once again, at the end of the day, I think Jack is strengthened by the hotel, but his body is still that of the middle-aged alcoholic.
Yeah, exactly. He's still a recovering alcoholic, but now he's gone back
You know,
into
like
spiraling.
don't get me wrong, I love Jack Nicholson, but like you can back the character is not like an overly fit dude.
No, not at all. He's what you would expect for someone that age. He's not 500 pounds. He's
Yeah,
relatively in good shape, but he's still going to have limitations. So it's
and he's been an
believable.
ex-alcoholic, and the only thing really driving him is his madness. I think eventually you can and that's another thing that's kind of realistic. You see Jack get tired as this events go on. Like he's getting wearing down by these
Yeah,
two.
because you believe based on the shape of Wendy and the sun, they would have better endurance long term. They would have better cardio. They'd be able to get away
Jack's
if
definitely physically strong and physically menacing, but he's
yes.
not going to run like a little boy would. He's not going to
Right.
get
So
beat up.
Danny's advantage is he's got the head start and he knows the maze so he can get quicker. And then of course in the ending, Jack ends up freezing to death as we see Danny and Mom get away, and
And then
we
you see
we
that final picture of him back in, and it's you see that picture, and now he's back in the old time partying up.
the 1920
Yeah,
1921, I believe it was, and he's back in the picture. So I'm guessing he became part of the hotel,
he's part of the hotel now.
and he feels like he was, and he even says early on he feels like he's been there before.
Yeah, and the hotel lets him believe that. But once again, I just want to say that the sequence of events that lead is by far the most terrifying sequence. I think personally is one of the. I watch a lot of horror. You know, I love a lot of good gore, but something about how I think a lot of it. Jack is a great actor. I don't want to seem like I'm taking his flowers away, but something about when he's acting, you definitely get the fight or flight. She is fighting so hard, and it's one of the most believable needs of human survival I've ever seen.
Yeah, and her priority would have been doing what was best for the household, but once Jack goes crazy, he's no longer part of that full
That yeah.
household, that family dynamic. She's looking at it as okay, me and my son, that's all that matters right now. Jack is not, he's, you can't fix him. There's nothing we can do to stop him.
And also,
So
when it boils down, at the end of the day, the only reason why she didn't do that is because she didn't want to break up her family for her son. I truly believe the only reason she stays with this man is for her son.
I agree with that because if this was happening now, she'd be gone.
Yeah,
She'd have
I
been out
think
of
if
there.
anything, she just everything about her just screams mother. You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
is a mother, and
It,
that is it's nice to see a positive representation of that of just a good mom. A good I know
maybe
it sounds crazy, but like a good mom in a horror film is so rare. Like an
And maybe
actual
what we need
parent.
to start doing occasionally is when we recognize a character, be like, yeah, like I'm gonna say this, Wendy is the MVP of this movie.
Oh
She's
yeah.
the MVP of the story. Her character is the MVP. So I think we need to start doing that, like recognizing what performances stand out. Hers does stand out. The whole time she's trying to do what's right. She's trying to be supportive of her husband, but then once he shows his reasoning, his logic, his anger is everything's gone. And any good qualities he had are now gone. So she
And
can no
at the end
longer
of the day,
protect
Wendy
him.
is a bad bitch. Okay.
Yeah, she is. Wendy is a bad bitch. And I think I would have loved to have seen a Wendy Dick team up to see what that would have
Yeah.
looked like with those two. Like part of me was
But
hoping
I do
they would
like
get
that they
there
made it
and
so it was Wendy. The only thing keeping Danny safe, other than Danny himself, but he's a child, so that's limited, was Wendy. The
yes.
only thing stopping this terrible thing from happening was Wendy, and I like that they left it up to her. She didn't need Dick at the end of the day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she was able to get
Right.
away by herself.
Right. Dick though showing up and getting killed does give the other two more time. That's the
Yeah.
only thing.
I would,
Not
but I
very
just
much,
like
but
that. Like they didn't need a male savior. It was
no.
Wendy. It was a mother protecting the only. At the end of the day, all they needed was a mother protecting their child to stop this.
And I think one thing I like, you have the scene. I'll bring whenever he's in the bathroom with the woman that's naked and everything.
Yeah,
The whole this guy's going to feed into his sexual instincts,
yeah.
and then giving the power back to the woman later. I
Mm.
really like that because it's showing that women are not just objects. Women are people
Yeah,
too.
and I
And
also
I like
something
that
that
a
I
lot.
like. I'm not sure if you caught this, but Wendy believes Danny when he says that a woman got him in the bathroom. And so many horror movies, the parent goes, "Oh, that didn't happen. You're making shit up." It just was nice to see a parent that was like believe their son or believe that at least something happened and took their child seriously.
Well, and it is believable because think about it. If you're watching a hotel that big, there could
You
be
don't
a
know.
crazy person sneak in and stay in a room and like put themselves
But like,
into a
how many
room
horror
for a
movies
night.
would have wrote it off of like had the parents, the mom say, "Oh no, it didn't. You calm down and go to bed." Like, how many times have you watched a horror movie where they're like,
Oh
"There's
yeah,
no
then they end up
monster."
dead
Yeah,
because
and
they
then
didn't
they'll end up
listen to their
fixing.
kid.
You know what? My son has this concern. I'm going to go investigate. Maybe he has psychological problems, but first let me rule out any other possibilities.
Yeah. And I think there's something really cool about a parent and their child's relationship, like seeing the differences between the father's son, the mother's
Yeah.
son, and her, like you said, just being a good mom. That is her superpower in this film.
That's what won this film. And I once again, I know we're not talking about as much, but I just feel like it's such a dead horse to beat on how great Jack's performance was. Don't get me wrong, it was astronomical. It's one of the
Yeah,
best. But like, I just feel like Wendy's the unsung hero of this movie.
yeah, I
And
think
everyone wants
he
to talk
deserves
about,
more
because I
praise.
think it's more visually interesting to see Jack. But Winnie, the only reason why Jack's performance was so good was because Winnie's was the one that had to hold it up. You know what I mean? Her terror, her reaction to him is what gives you the view of how scary this is.
And I like that we jump around. We see her view for a while. We see the son, Danny's. We see Jack's. I like that because you're seeing three different characters mainly, because you do see
Mhm.
Dick's scenes, but you see those three mainly in the shift. And those two, the Danny and the mom, Wendy, they deserve all the praise in the world for their
Oh yeah.
performances because
And
they
I
definitely
love
added
the
to it.
theory online that the reason why the hotel couldn't affect Wendy is because deep down she was too strong of a soul to corrupt.
Ooh, I think there's believability there because that protecting her son overruled anything. There was no, the weakness would have been trying to her keeping the family together, but she doesn't succumb to the hotel, and I love
But
that.
even then, she didn't sacrifice keeping the family together over her son. She still did what was
Exactly.
responsible. So I think at the end of the day, like Jack himself is a selfish, narcissistic character even before this events, and the hotel preyed upon that. But throughout the movie, Wendy doesn't have those characteristics. Wendy is just a pretty good overall person. Overall, she's a little bit timid. She's a little bit of these kind of things, but that doesn't. At the end of the day, that doesn't stop her.
She's timid, but she observes. She
Yeah,
she
she's
sees more than
intelligent. She is well
what
rounded.
Jack thinks probably.
Yeah, and I loved her intelligence, her perceptiveness. You know what I mean? It's not like these things just suddenly happen to her. Like you can see her slowly put more and more distance between Jack and Danny, and then slowly over time put more distance between her and Jack.
Yes. Um, yeah, her character to me is the strongest one of the film, and we saw some other minor characters early, like Mister what's his butt, um, Mister. I wrote it down here.
And I will say, like before we, Lloyd's performance was, I did like Lloyd. I do love the interaction between Lloyd and Jack. Um, great job on that. I think
Yeah,
the ghosts are creepy. I know they don't get many lines, but I do think they are creepy and that they're believable and that but like the everybody else is very minor in that I don't
yeah, like Mister Ullman. He's just sort of the to get him to work for the hotel. That's it. That's the only reason why
yeah.
he's here. Is you need his character to interview and everything. And yeah, the ghosts are creepy and they're helping pull Jack into the hotel. And Jack is like, well, I love this hotel. So it's very easy to exploit him and get him to go for this. And you hope throughout the film that he's going to see reason, but you hit that point of no return where, yeah, this isn't going to work out. What did you give this for your rating? And we'll talk further about this film afterwards. What did you give it?
Uh,
Well, you can talk about your categories, like what
I
gets you
really
better.
wanted to give this a 10 just because, but I think it's a 10 to me, but I'm going to give this a 9.5.
Okay.
Because there is little things you can nitpick. There's definitely little things you can nitpick about this film. But to me, my personal rating would be a 10. But overall, if I was to think about this logistically and a little more critically, it's probably a 9.5.
Okay. So I'm just sensing tens are going to be hard for you to give out.
I don't think anything's perfect.
I think to me, when I'm giving something 10, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm saying it's perfect for my taste and what
Well,
how I perceive it.
I guess I'm giving two ratings. My personal rating is a 10, but if I looked at this critically and if I looked at this as someone who consumes media and what media can mean, it's a 9.5. If you look at everything, like if you look at this as a almost a film critic, it would be a 9.5. But personally, it's a 10.
Okay, yeah, because to me, when I say I'm not saying this movie, I'm going to give it a pretty high rating. But let's say hypothetically, if I give a film a 5, I'm still saying there is entertainment value to be had from a movie that's a 5. So anything to me 6 and above, 6 to 7 is good. 8 8 and above is excellent. Like you're hitting really good movies.
And
These are
also,
above
like
average.
I think I really think it'd be a crime to rate it any lower because it has such a cultural impact, and I think that it shows the test of time so well. You can't argue with the fact that it's an excellent film because it's in every pop culture reference. Everybody knows it. Even if you haven't watched the film, I guarantee you've heard of it.
Oh yeah, I knew some of the references going in. Okay, so to me, the acting is a 10 out of 10.
Oh God, yes.
I gave the acting 10 out of 10. I gave the film a bonus because of the isolation. I'm a sucker for that. I love these isolation films.
And
There's
that's
so much
another thing.
you
I
can
guess
do.
my problem with my rating is that it's really hard to nitpick anything. I love the set. I love the music. I love the acting. I love the dialogue, the story, the plot.
Yep.
It's all great.
I
Like I don't
gave the
even know what to
story a 10
criticize.
out of 10. There's only one reason I gave this a 9, and I'll tell you
Mm.
why. There's only one thing that holds it back for me, and this is a personal taste thing. Once again, it's subjective. It's not a film. If I was thinking about it, if I owned this film, is it one that I would revisit a lot? This is one of those films. It's interesting because as like a character study, but I don't think it's very rewatchable for my taste.
I'm going to challenge that. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I love Stephen King and I do know more about the universe. The more you watch it, the more you catch. The more the little inconsistency pops up, the more you watch it, the more the different ghosts make sense. And the things that Lloyd say in the beginning of the movie makes more sense if you go back and rewatch it.
Okay. But
Everything about this movie references itself or past events.
okay, but like for me, what I guess my comparison would be, would I, because I've been going through, I'll tell you guys what I've been doing. I took all the movies off my shelf and I'm rewatching, but there's certain ones I automatically put back on. So it's like, would I watch this as much as Beetlejuice? No.
Mm.
That for me, K-pop Demon Hunters, I will rewatch that over this, not because it's an excellent film, so I'm still giving it a 9. It's just for me personally, it's not one I generally like to have films that are more happy, that are more
And
something.
I think this is what makes our duo so great because I lean more to the dark and twisted, and you know, like I'd be much more up to watching The Shining 5 times over than watching K-pop. Even though I really like that film, I would watch The Shining five times for every one time I watch K-pop Demon Hunters, I'd watch The Shining 5 times over.
And I'm the opposite. That's what the thing. Like if I had friends over and if I was having a group watch, I would show them The Shining once, have a discussion, and then we probably would go to other stuff. So it's not. It's a great film. I still give it a 9 because it's an excellent film. Great storytelling, good perspective. The only thing for me is the replay value for me personally. I would get maybe in a year or two rewatch it and see a different perspective. But it's not one. Oh, I'm going to watch this once a month, or
And
you know what
I
I
will
mean.
have to admit, just because I haven't had as much time as I usually do, and so when I rewatched this film, I rewatched it for this and took notes. And since then, I've rewatched it twice. So in between filming this, I've rewatched that film 3 times in 1 week.
Dang.
I just really like this movie, and I'm probably going to rewatch it tomorrow night at my Halloween party.
I think the lineup I'm looking at, because it's going to be one of my friends is coming down, and we're going with more of like a retro theme, so more of like a '90s Halloween is the mood I've
Yeah,
been in this year. So the I'll tell you what, there's 4. If we have time, we'll hit 5 films. Here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at kicking off with Halloween 3: Season of the Witch because it
mm,
does take place on Halloween. I'm looking at Hocus Pocus, and then the first 3 Halloween Towns, at least the first 2. I
yeah.
was gonna throw in Trick or Treat, but we don't have enough time for all that. So we're keeping it more. My friend that's hosting this thing wanted it more to where like it could be more in the background and we can actually talk and stuff. So
I
I
think
went with
once
more.
again how that I say we because this is more my partner's friends. They compiled a list and they're just like gonna almost draw. So like we're always not gonna have time for them all, but like everyone puts like a movie in, and then if it gets picked, we watch it
Oh,
depending on who's
cool. I think if I were to have a Halloween party where there's more time, because the problem is like my friend has to be up at 4 in the morning the day after Halloween. I have to be up at 5 in the morning the day after Halloween for work. So it's one of those things where we can't go super late. So if
Yeah.
I were to do like an all day, like I think we're starting at 1 o'clock tomorrow, we're gonna go to probably 8 or 9. But if I was starting at like
And
11,
this is I'm gonna be honest, more of a college party, so like we might. But we will watch films, but I don't know how much of that's going to be between playing games and just.
yeah,
So we basically how they've done it is just so it's fair to everybody. Everyone puts their movie in, and it's random, so nobody can be mad. And if your movie doesn't get watched, then whatever.
yeah, I think it depends on the number of people. Like tomorrow we have a group of 5 to 6. Now, if we had all day, then I think each person could have submitted one film, or we could have watched
See,
one
this
film
is
from
once again.
everybody.
I state this is more my partner's friend. I'm going without my partner, whatever. I'm going with him. and I think there's like 17 people, maybe more.
Jeez, okay.
So it's a bigger party. You know, I mean,
Yeah, so that's
nobody's
more
gonna have nobody.
fair. That's more
Yeah,
fair. And while we're talking, since we are recording and Halloween is happening here, um, we kind of
let us
wrapped
know
our
your
thoughts on
plans
this.
down below. We want to know what you're getting up to.
Yeah, let us know what you're doing. But I want to talk now that we've talked about The Shining and we talked about stuff like that. We've already kind of reviewed it and everything. I would like to talk about like Halloween itself while we're getting to the end of this. Let's have a little bit of fun. So, Halloween, a lot of times there's a misconception. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's against religion," but the idea of Halloween is actually you would dress up and decorate to confuse the bad spirits so they would pass you by and wouldn't go in your house or put bad energy into your life. So
Well, I
actually
think it's just
Halloween.
because of the Christian thing, and that's a pagan that's pagan tradition. I'm pretty sure, and the Christians, I think back in the day, beefed the pagans pretty hard.
Right, like Ireland actually is where this all happened, and it's like it was more of a belief of keeping the bad spirits away, and they would pull pranks and stuff. But
Yeah, but then
I still
the
have
church
that.
get involved.
I have that traditional view myself that if you dress up and decorate, you keep the bad spirits away. But it's also just like a fun excuse to be able to dress up
And
and have
also,
fun.
like me, I'm not the most spiritual, so I kind of like having a holiday that's not really a tied to religion. That's just fun. Like we're just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Well, there is a trend. Adults are doing more for Halloween. I think they realize Thanksgiving, you're expected to make this big dinner. Christmas is gifts. New Year's is making sure all the drunk drivers get home. Halloween is more, you can make it just for yourself. You get to be selfish and you
Also,
can.
it's fun to dress up. Listen. Here's the thing, though. Like, I see everyone online always shit on cosplayers, but like, let's be honest with yourself. It's fun to dress up as characters you really like. It's a good excuse to go do that and not be judged.
I think I was the Crow, probably, or Sting, the wrestler, 4 or 5 times. Like the Crow is one of my all-time favorites. I just felt like that story I connected to. I loved the
What's your costume for this year?
This year, I'm going as Adam Maitland from Beetlejuice. I have the mask with the eyes on the fingers.
Nice, nice.
I'm going as Adam Maitland. What are you doing this year?
Well, we're going as a couple costume. We're going as Crowley and Aziraphale from Good Omens.
Okay.
Um, it's I'm real excited for it. I was able to convince my partner to do this because it's more of my special interest kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's just being submitted to my will. So pray for him for that, I guess. Uh, but he's being Aziraphale, which is the angel, and I'm being Crowley, which is the demon. And yeah, if you know Good Omens, you know. And also that
Okay.
there's not that many queer men couple costumes, so you got to be a little bit more. Like if you
Sure.
want to do a couple costumes, you know, there's not as many options for people like
Surprised you
us.
didn't go as the Saja Boys and made it like a.
Okay, that's more of his thing. We might have to do that next year. You know what I mean? This
As
year's
with
my thing.
um, what was I going to ask you? With Halloween, are there any films that you feel like are like up here for spooky season? Because you and I watch horror any time of the year. So, but like it's elevated for me in October. I watch horror, but in October I tend to watch films. Are there any films that you're like these are go to October films for me?
It depends on the crowd. Okay, so
For you
I'm
personally,
the guy to come
for
to if
you
you want horror
personally.
recommendations, right? I'm the guy you want to come to, right? Are we looking for gore? Are we looking to be disturbed? Are we looking for a fun? Are we looking for a slasher? Are we looking for funny? Are we looking?
Okay.
Humor is so diverse.
Let me narrow this down. What personally gets you into the mood for Halloween? Like what movies say, yes, this is Halloween. This is like this is the spirit
Well,
of Halloween for me.
being that I'm the one that recommended The Shining, and I have now watched it 3 times this week, and I really hope I get to watch it tomorrow. I'd say The Shining's up there. That's a big one for me. Let's see. I love Carrie. Carrie's another big one.
Okay.
I would say October for me is the time for King. You know, uh, but I really like to get in the supernatural stuff during October, right? Because like I'm really into traditional horror and a lot of like the indie film like The House That Jack Built, which is a lot more about psychological. But during October, I'm like, I'm not a believer in ghosts. I'm not, unless I'm proven wrong one day. But during this October, I like to let myself believe a little bit, believe that ghosts are out there. So I get a lot.
Yeah.
So House of a Thousand Bodies is another one. Like anything that's a little bit more zombie, vampires, ghouls, goblins is more October time.
Okay. So you and I have completely different tastes, and that's okay. Because like for me, October, I like movies that either have a fall vibe, like fall, like the changing leaves. It captures that. Like Beetlejuice, I would say is actually more September for me because that usually kicks off me wanting to decorate. But like
Yeah,
for me, October, Halloween Town,
yeah.
Hocus
Well,
Pocus.
you go a little bit more wholesome. I go, what's going to make
No, I still have to get there. Fear Street. Every October, I have to rewatch Fear Street. If you have not seen that trilogy on Netflix, amazing. I absolutely
I
love
would
it.
say I watched Friday the 13th. For some reason I really attached Freddy Krueger to Halloween.
Wait, you said Friday the 13th. That's
Don't okay. Nightmare on Elm Street.
okay. Okay, you're fine. You're fine. I actually just
Not
bought
me mixing titles.
the original Nightmare on Elm Street on 4K because they had a. I went to this movie store and I'm
And
like, I
fun
have to
fact, I
have it.
like watching Nightmare on Elm Street because I forget exactly which movie, but it was actually I think Patrick Dempsey's one of his first acting things, and I'm secretly a Grey's Anatomy fan.
Okay. Um, to me, I'm trying to think of other titles. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch because it actually is leading up to an event on Halloween. So like tomorrow I'm in the mood for movies that actually take place during Halloween. So that's kind
I
of what I'm
would
going for
say,
tomorrow.
and this is a little bit more recent because my partner, I've always liked this movie. I've always thought it was great. But my boyfriend, he's really into Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So I've been watching a lot of that with him, and that I feel like that might be a tradition with me and him going on is watching Killer Clowns from Outer
Yeah.
Space
I
around this
need to
time.
see that still, bud. You've talked about that a few times.
Yeah, I liked it on my own time, but he loves it. Like for his birthday this year, I got him a Clear Comes of Outer Space backpack and things that he loves, and he's like a mega fan.
That's awesome. So you can have fun with that. At least that makes an easy gift. If you don't know what to get him, I'll just get him something from Killer Clowns from
Listen,
Outer Space.
I know what. Listen, here's what I always know I can get him. I can get him something Clear Clowns of Outer Space. I can get him a Labubu. I think they're called. He's really into Pom Pumperin from Hello Kitty. That's like
Okay.
his idol. He's really into Minecraft. He likes horror in general, so he's a big fan of like Scream and Scary Movie, and he's really into that stuff. All that is perfect for him.
Heck yeah. Um, Casper's another one. I saw that in the theater for the 30th anniversary. That is one I'm going to add to my spooky season watches because it was so good. But I like balance. I like some traditional horror. Like if I'm thinking horror, I'm thinking Scream, Insidious, which Insidious isn't one that I watch every year though. It's one of those that if I'm in the mood for it, I'll put it on. But it's kind of like I have these films that are every year must. The Crow, that's one I actually have not
Hereditary.
watched in a bit, but I need to watch The Crow again.
Hereditary is a big one for me. Something about little girls getting their head smashed.
I haven't seen Hereditary. The Heretic, I did see that one. And so
But
I'm getting into A24 films more. I'm starting to
oh,
really like them as
you're in for it.
I'm getting into their films more. I still need to see Talk to Me. That one looks really cool. But there's a lot of films. But anyways, I guess so Halloween, what do you like about Halloween? Outside of the movies, what else do you like about Halloween?
I just maybe it's the theater kid in me. I just like dressing up. Dressing up was like the peak of the year. You know what I mean? Especially as a little kid, it's the one time of the year like you're allowed. Because I was the dumbass kid that would like go to school my costumes, and everyone would make fun of me. But like during Halloween, everyone's dressed up, so no one's going to say anything. So like, it's the one time of year I can
To
dress up
me,
as like Doctor Who or one of these characters, and nobody's going to say nothing.
I feel a little more myself on Halloween, I think, is because I get to play around and have fun with the character. I try to play a character where I can actually play that character for a day. So I remember
For me,
playing.
I just like dressing up, and also on the down low, I like to party, and I like to have the Halloween fun party.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And that's what's so cool to talk to people who like Halloween because different people have different reasons why they
Yeah,
like
and
it.
number one, I love holiday parties. I'm not gonna lie, I really do. Me and you met at a holiday party. I love
Yeah,
holiday parties; they're fun. But at Halloween, I don't have to get anybody gifts, so I don't gotta worry about what they like, what they don't like. Make sure that do the whole secret Santas or the elephant or whatever you do. You know what I mean? There's a lot less pressure. You just bring some candy and you buy. You don't have to like make sure everybody oh no, I forgot this gift for this person. Now they're gonna think I hate them.
right. I forgot the gift for the uncle I only see once a year who eats exactly 3 lemons and makes weird faces every
Or
year.
like,
Like, what?
here's the thing. What I like is when you get to our age, you have to basically discuss with your friends, like, "Hey guys, are we doing gifts? Are we doing something? Do I have to get you something? Are you getting me something?" Because if someone gets you something but you don't get them something, that's a problem.
I have a group of, there's four of us friends. What we do, we each get each other one item, but we like try to make it to where we're each only spending like $20 or less. So that way it's not anything too crazy.
See,
Well, if
it's
it's like
I
25 with tax or 20, a little
yeah,
bit over, cool. But like, I don't have to give a lot of people gifts, but Halloween, what you're saying, like tomorrow, it's show up, help decorate. We're gonna watch some films. Well, my ideal world would be 2 day celebration. The
yeah,
30th and 31st, have like show up the 30th, watch some movies, stay all night. Have one day be more movie and have one day be more like activities. Where like you'll have movies on still, but you have more activities going
yeah.
on, like
I would say like
crafting.
I'm just excited. It's it's my first Halloween since moving. It's gonna be with a lot of new people, and I'm just excited for this year. It's my first year with a partner. It's my first year doing a couple of costume.
There you go. I think for me, I'm trying to get myself excited because what it was hot for so long. So it took so
Yeah.
long to feel like actual fall.
I
So
tell you what, you can. I'm sure Jake's so related to this because I told you what, it was getting hot and was getting closer and closer to Halloween, and I have him in a three-piece suit. He's like, I swear to God, Edward, I swear to God, if it does not cool down, you make me wear a three-piece suit for an entire day, I'm gonna be so pissed.
that's great. But yeah, for me, I think I'm excited more. It's starting to hit that tomorrow's Halloween because tonight when I was going to a haunted house, you saw a lot of people going out trick or treating. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I'm starting to get into the vibe. But this year felt weird, and it could be because I've traveled the last couple of years in October.
Mm.
So, but I'm excited more now because we've started decorating. We're doing these brownies that are like Halloween themed from the Wednesday cookbook, and I think just getting into that spirit once we
But like
start
I was
decorating in
like,
the
I
morning.
feel like I got my holidays backwards because like I almost like right now I feel like a kid on Christmas. I'm so excited to wake up tomorrow and it's gonna be Halloween and it's gonna be so like
Yeah,
I'm so excited. Like I'm bursting with joy. I'm so excited
Halloween
tomorrow.
is my favorite day of the year. I put Christmas second.
Yes. Yes. You know what? It's so funny when I got my new job, like I told you, I put in to be off on Halloween the minute I got hired.
If I have it my way, I will never work Halloween again. I think there was one year I called in on Halloween. I don't like working Halloween. One year I had to work Halloween and I was miserable. I'm like, I should be out there
I can't do it.
celebrating.
I won't do it. I won't.
No,
I
me
just won't
either.
do it.
Because it's
Fire
like
me.
it is my day. Like to me,
It's like this
if
is
I could
like
have picked my birthday, it would have been Halloween.
like I say this kindly to both of us. Like freak shows like us love Halloween. This is our season. This is the one time of year we can be ourselves.
The thing I will say, knowing you, we've been friends for a while now.
A couple of years.
We're not conventional.
We're not conventional
We
people though.
think outside the box, and I think that's why we love Halloween so much too, is because you're
You can
allowed to
dress
be
up. You can
different.
decorate your house, and nobody's gonna judge you. You can put a bloody ghoul outside your yard, and everyone's gonna be like, "Yay!"
You can eat
You do that.
candy,
You do
no
that
one's
in your
gonna
life,
judge
and
you.
everyone judges you.
I have to tell you something off screen that's really funny here in a minute about Halloween that one of my friends did. It made everybody laugh. It made some people go, "Oh," and it made some people laugh. But we also have dark humor. But here's the joke, audience: we never said we were joking.
Exactly. The bodies are in
So
the basement.
we weren't supposed to talk about that.
My bad. I'm a loudmouth.
I did see a thing on Facebook. It said this is going to be the first Halloween that falls on Friday the 13th in 600 years. And I couldn't stop laughing. And people actually believed it. There were people in the comments going, "Let me double check my calendar." Like,
Guys, I hate to break it to you, that's never.
yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
But guys, I think we should call it here. Leave a comment. Let us know what you like about Halloween. What's your view on The Shining?
And are you guys weirdos like us, where it's your favorite holiday, and you just make it through the rest of the year to get to Halloween?
And do you wish the Halloween was a nationally recognized holiday where they actually would shut down workplaces and make it an actual federal
It
holiday?
should be illegal to work on Halloween.
I agree with that. And if you do have to work Halloween,
We are sorry.
we are sorry. Do a trick, not a treat.
Yes. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe
Subscribe
if you want to
and
keep and also
comment.
and comment and put your notification sound on so you know when our next upload will be.
Yes, because we have done so far. This was our third film already. Wow.
Yeah, this is our fourth video. Me and you were trucking along with this. We've done this. We've
4
been
videos already?
and yeah, we did because we did 3 films and then we did our little game.
Well, next week is number 5, so there's a certain song we'll have to play. It's very catchy. But yeah,
But we thank you for joining us. Thank you for anything you do. Push all the buttons you can find, except for the dislike button. Don't push that one.
and don't push the red button. Oh crap! Shit, I
And
hit
if
it.
you are new to the channel and you really want to help us out, at the end of this video, it should pop up the next video that would be recommended for you from our channel. Hit that. It'll help our algorithm a lot. If you go from one of our videos to another one of our videos, don't know why, it helps a lot.
And also share, because if you
Share.
share the video, more people get to see it, so we get eyes on the channel, and we want more people to get to see our weirdness.
And we want you to join us. We would love to hear your opinions. But other than that, I think we're gonna go. Have a good night, and everyone, happy Halloween.